To your first point, again, I think it's the profit one. Again, he's not making any money off of this, just like he's not making any money from working here. And if you think it's going to help his brand, that's great, but I would suggest that he probably doesn't need much help promoting his brand. So we'll put the profit one aside and deal with a perfect place. I mean, who was here for the last time was at Camp David? Was that the perfect place? In fact, I understand the folks who participated in it hated it and thought it was a miserable place to have the G7. It was way too small. It was way too remote. My understanding is the media didn't like it because you had to drive an hour in a bus to get there either way.
I take your point, but there have been other G7 summits. I've attended numerous G7 summits that have been perfectly fine according to the leaders. How can the White House really make the argument that this was the only place that the G7 summit could be?
It's not the only place. It's the best place. Those are two different things, okay? But we had dates.
There other good places without the president.
There's plenty of other good places in this country to hold a large event. There's no question about it. Some of the limitations, we wanted it at a specific time. We wanted it in early June, so that limits it a little bit. Then there's difficulties with going various places. Some places don't have the transportation that you need. I mean, there was one place, I won't say where it was, where we actually had to figure out if we were going to have oxygen tanks for the participants because of the altitude. So yeah, there's limitations at other places. We thought of the 12 places that we looked at, and you'd recognize the names of them if we told you what they were, that this was by far and away the best choice. Yes, ma'am.
Very quickly, this is a business of optics. How is the president going to stand on a debate stage if, in fact, Vice President Biden wins the nomination and try to make an argument that he profited off of his vice presidency?
He's going to do that extraordinarily well. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
So you were talking about how this is the best place, or one of the best places to have this. Okay, so is this going to be self-contained just at Doral? Are there other hotel rooms you think you'll have to get, or is there anywhere else that you'll have to?
Yeah, one of the advantages, I understand that one of the advantages that the advance team came back with about Doral was the fact that it could be sequestered off from the rest of the city, and that nearly all or all of the operations could be on that one piece of property. I think the president said there's almost 900 acres there, so it's a huge facility, and we'll be able, with a lot of open space. I think there's 3 golf courses, so there's a lot of space available to us, and we do anticipate the entire thing being on that campus. Now,
including hotels, like talked about additional hotel rooms. Do you think you'll have to get additional hotels involved in that?
Yeah, I would. Well, I would again. I'm not sure about the. When we talk about the delegations, for example, when we went to Biarritz, okay, I think we were at 2 or 3 different hotels around that city. That would not be the case here. The American delegation would stay on campus. The British delegation will stay on campus. The Germans will stay on campus. And you folks will be there. Whether or not there'll be other folks who are using up hotel rooms in the Miami area, I can't speak to that.
Local authorities. What local authorities have you been in contact with about this?
Yeah, I haven't asked that question, but we do that as part of the advance team. We'll do that with each of the groups that we work with, but I'm not familiar with those. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, a video shown last weekend at that resort, actually a doctored video showed the president killing members of the news media and his political opponents. Why do you think he hasn't spoken directly about the sentiment behind that video?
Have you asked him?
Sure.
You guys but we put out a statement. You had a chance to ask him that question yesterday, and you asked him something else, which is fine. But hold on a second. Hold on a second. Your question was why he hasn't asked it. We did as a White House. We listened to that. We didn't like that. I think we condemn that. That's not.
He's the president. He has like 65
we
million
didn't.
followers.
We did not. Did you think that we would?
I mean, that doesn't sound like a very strong condemnation.
Oh, come on, John. I mean, it was awful. I mean, I remember seeing the movie. No, that has no place here. I think we've condemned that. I don't know if he's seen it or not. I have. Yes, sir.
I understand
that you're trying to put it in a place that you think is the best.
Yeah.
And maybe save the taxpayers some money, which is important for all of us. But sometimes because of the appearance of impropriety, you don't make that call. Can you at least understand and acknowledge that just the appearance of impropriety makes this wince-inducing, and maybe this is something that you want to reconsider? How did that conversation go in the room?
The president knows that. Listen, the president, we know the environment we live in. You all know the environment that we live in. And he knows exactly that he's going to get these questions and exactly get that reaction from a lot of people. And he's simply saying, okay, that's fine. I'm willing to take that. The same way he takes it when he goes to Trump Mar-a-Lago, the same place when he goes to play Trump Bedminster. He got over that a long time ago. We absolutely believe this is the best place to have it. We're going to have it there. And there's going to be folks who will never get over the fact that it's a Trump property We get that, but we're still going to go there. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mulvaney. Aside from what your advanced team did to look for the perfect place, what role did the president play in selecting Doral, including getting it on the initial list of 10 or 12 places in the first place?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. We sat around one night. We were back in the dining room, and I'm going over it with a couple of our advanced team. We had the list, and he goes, "What about Doral?" And I was like, That's not the craziest idea. It makes perfect sense. We're all familiar with it, so it's not like he said, "Oh, this is what Doral is." I have to explain it. He said, "No, what about Doral?" I'm like, you know what? That's not the craziest idea we ever heard. We sat down and went to go look at it. Yes, sir.
Yes, thanks, Mick. I wanted to ask you about, as it relates to this decision that you've made, as the host country, couldn't the president simply, as the host country, invite President Putin to represent Russia at the G7?
Yeah, I think we can, because I think as I understand how the G7 works, there'll be other leaders there anyway. For example, I met with Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister of Australia, at the G7, even though they're not there. I assume he came at the invite of President Macron, and we could do the same thing. But in terms of, I think the question I got originally was turning it from the G7 into the G8.
Okay. My question was, could he simply invite President Putin to attend?
I think he probably, yes. If the question is, can he physically do that? Yeah, I think he can.
Whether he can, of course he can, he's president. But would he consider doing that?
It's not come up. I think the conversation we've had about whether or not we turn it from the G7 to the G8, that could be an intermediate step.